Hey folks, my name is John Schimmelfany, Director of Strategic Partnerships here at Code 42. And I'm going to spend the next few minutes here to illuminate talking about insider risk and an ecosystem approach to insider risk management. So let's begin at the beginning here. What is insider risk? Well, we've heard a lot in the industry about insider risk and insider threat. But if we take a look at really what insider risk is, it's a data protection problem involving 100% of the employees, vendors, and contractors that are innovating, collaborating, and creating on a daily basis. And the focus needs to be protecting all data and users from everyday exfiltration risk, no matter their intent, because humans make mistakes. And if we look at the right side here, insider threat is 1% to 2% of the employees. Those are the folks that are actively trying to take data from your network. But when you can get better control of your insider risk management program, you're able to easier highlight the 1% to 2% of folks that are actively trying to take data from your organization. But let's talk about how this happens, right? So how is insider risk a thing and why are we talking about it now? Why is it so important? Well, starting with the culture catalyst, on one side of the ball, you've got CEOs, CIOs, HR, executives, sales, et cetera. They want speed, growth, and innovation. On the other side, you've got CISOs who believe a fast-paced culture puts data at risk. Why? Because that big ball of yarn in the middle is us, the employees, contractors, and vendors who are leveraging a growing and diverse array of solutions just to do our jobs. Solutions like cloud storage, Zoom, Slack. And these tools are designed for collaboration, but combined with the growth of decentralized data driven by digital transformation, data risk is inherent and corporate data leaks happen. This is a giant culture gap that isn't being bridged by DLP or any other old school legacy technology today. And the market problem really highlights that security buyers need to secure endpoints that are connected to various users who interact with hundreds of files that range in value and viewing settings. Users are doing this in an environment that has thousands of vectors through which files can escape. Humans make mistakes, all of us. We have a unique ability to want to get our jobs done with speed and efficiency. We've also been forced to work through some very interesting times and in some very interesting places. As an example, I'm coming to you from what used to be a garden shed in Maine. Where we work, how we work has changed. And meanwhile, the business still needs to stop corporate data leaks, which are happening at a greater pace. And when you have thousands of users on thousands of endpoints creating millions of files with access to the internet, Bluetooth, and removable media, this becomes a very complex problem. Throw in the variables of the pace of business, innovation, and just change. It's easy for all of the critical IP loss an organization can't tolerate to be leaked. Again, humans, we can make mistakes. And the 1% to 2% of us that end up being true insider threats, well, all this chaos creates the noise needed to take that critical IP. And again, we don't just make mistakes. As humans, we make a lot of noise. And security teams are dealing with burnout, alert fatigue, and the ability to simply understand what is important to the organization. Relying on users to accurately classify intellectual property has left blind spots, and the constant maintenance to write the rules and policy enforcement triggers needed to keep up with all of this unclassified, decentralized data has security trying to contain insider risk completely in the blind. And to be honest, 9 out of 10 organizations couldn't agree more. They don't have the solution in place to effectively manage all of the users, files, and vectors that are impacting their organization's insider risk today. And you simply can't stop what you can't see. And with all of that money spent on defending the organization from the outside, it takes one employee to put critical IP where it's not supposed to be. And those tools, this intrusion detection system, they're needed. However, with almost 2/3 of all breaches involving an insider, there needs to be a new approach. So let's take a few minutes here and talk about insider risk management, a new approach leveraging the bulk of your existing ecosystem today. And when we talk about it, I am going to be upfront with you. I work at an insider risk management company. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, there is no single solution that can solve for insider risk. It truly is a people, process, and technology approach that needs to be taken. It involves stakeholders and processes outside of security, folks like HR and legal. And for technology, you need to leverage that existing stack to know who your users are, what their role is, what they have access to, what they're sending to untrusted places outside of the organization, and then how to respond to them. And I mean, sure, blocking's a thing, but it should be the last thing. Identify, define, prioritize, automate, and ultimately improve your insider risk posture. And you remember how I said there's no silver bullet? Well, when you engage with your existing ecosystem, you can better inform the people to run the processes that will ultimately allow the organization to respond in kind to an insider event. And it's not just security, like I mentioned. In order to address insider risk, you need to fully understand the combination of files, vector, and user context for each event. What marketing and sales send outside of the organization and where they send that information is different from where your developers or your R&D folks send theirs. And providing the correct, right-sized response to insider events is critical to stopping corporate data leaks. Hey, remember way back when on the previous slide, when I said blocking comes last? I meant it. Solving for insider risk, utilizing right-sized response allows for organizations to leverage their existing solutions and that shiny object in the middle of my previous wheel to respond appropriately to each incident with things like human intervention, security awareness training, deprecating access to sensitive data, or elevated access privileges, putting data on legal hold, or yes, quarantining and removing assets from your network. If your compensating controls are properly informed, you can begin to affect change within the organization by driving awareness to every employee, vendor, and contractor about the risk that they pose to your organization. And knowing is half the battle. It's what G.I. Joe told us. We humans, we need to be told when we do things wrong. Why? So we don't do them again. And to solve for the lack of visibility and movement on insider risks, here's a simple sample of what we capture and send up to your Sumo Logic instance. These events or insider risk indicators often leveraged by our joint customers today to allow them to be alerted and to triage and ultimately fully investigate insider risk events, understanding what a senior developer has just downloaded source code to their endpoint, renamed the file from source code.zip to vacationphotos.png, and uploaded that to their personal Dropbox is critical to seeing and stopping corporate data leaks with the right size response. And that Picard meme, that gets old real fast, but it speaks to this point directly. For all of the solutions, the attacker in a hoodie outside of your network that you're deploying to stop them, there are users with trust that can easily exfiltrate critical IP. And by leveraging insider risk management, you could put your existing ecosystem to use. Leveraging Code 42 and Sumo Logic helps you better enforce data use compliance around the organization, create a risk-aware culture, and reduce your mean time to respond to insider incidents. I want to thank you very much for your time. I want to thank Sumo Logic, and I hope all of you enjoy the rest of the Illuminate conference. Thanks again.